I think things like this are a cry for help. Like these are people like that are crying out for the world to look at this at a much deeper level. And I think people are trying to right now. It's just that it almost feels like there is no reaching across the aisle when it comes to at least those that are in the deepest level of this following, because it's like the jihad itself is like the sixth pillar of their belief. It's like the sixth pillar
Yeah.
of
We have
Islam.
a surah. We have a surah about jihad that whenever non-believers basically they don't obey and they don't basically comply with the Islamic norms in the Islamic state, and if they basically if they are a threat for the world of Islam, each of Muslims they have the responsibility to fight with them.
Hey, Galactic family. Welcome back to the channel Indigo Angel. Come on into this very special discussion and container tonight, as I'm really excited to be getting into some very significant topics that are really pressing right now in terms of all of the world current events and kind of what is occurring essentially in the holy war of our time. I've been able to bring back my previous guest, in which you've seen on the channel, Mrs. Shideh Torkaman. She is an Iranian American and she lived in Iran for 29 years after coming to the US for graduate school in 2010. She recently came on the channel and we spoke on some very significant dynamics in terms of exposing the Black Heart regime and, what are some of the deeper hidden truths and dangers of Islam that I think many of us might not essentially be aware of, and, how this is impacting women's rights and how this is impacting essentially everything that's going on over in the Middle East. So she did amazing last time she came on the channel. I was so happy to bring her on. She also recommended another beautiful divine sister, another Iranian American, Mrs. Shohreh Tehranchi, and I was introduced to her by Shideh to participate in this conversation with me today, going into all of the current topics in which we're going to discuss. And she immigrated from Iran when she was 18 years old, and she was born a Muslim and she practiced the religion for quite some time. And she currently now is a businesswoman and she is also an activist. So she has been doing a lot of volunteering and I guess fighting for children's rights in San Bernardino, California, and she's essentially a political activist to create a better world for our children. And so both of these women are very educated, and they both have practiced the religion of Islam, so they both really know this inside and out, and they can really speak to these topics in a much deeper way, in which I feel like could really assist my audience and everyone watching to help educate them about what it is we're currently experiencing. And so tonight we're going to focus on the topics of discussing, Trump's current announcement in which he has announced to take over the Gaza Strip and, what are the responses to this and how are these dynamics going to, further have implications on the world? And also, Trump's recent statements in which he's talking about the hostages that were most recently returned back to Israel, essentially saying that these hostages look like they were returned, looking like they came out darn near close to, what the Holocaust victims looked like. I think it's honorable of Trump to be sending such a deserving message on behalf of the hostages. He's definitely speaking to the things that are happening, basically saying enough is enough. And so we're going to kind of get into, all of this. And then we're also going to be continuing to talk about the dangers of Islam and then this impact on the feminine. Also, I think we're going to go over the jihad and their quest to conquer the world, essentially calling total warfare, a declaration of war to rule the earth, essentially. So we're going to kind of go over this and maybe get into some verses in the Quran that also, support the things that are going on. First thing I think we'll get into is speaking about the Quran burning that's going on with the Salwan Monica case, essentially. So there's been a lot of burnings of Qurans that are going on and a lot of backlash that's been happening because of this. But we think we need to get in and talk about why are they burning the Qurans. Thank you, ladies, for joining me. It's such a pleasure to have you here. I'll have Shideh just go ahead and say hello and to everyone watching, and then Shohreh can go next.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity again. I am so glad that I have this chance to speak to you once again and to expose some truth about the world that we've been living and kind of prepare ourselves for what is coming and which is going to be a wonderful world. But altogether, first we need to see what has been dealing with all of us. I mean, the darkness, a lot of deception, a lot of basically manipulation that has been going on. So this is all our effort that to kind of, explain everything clearly to everybody to be prepared for what is coming to embrace it whole.
Thank you, Shideh. And Shohreh, how are you today? And what kind of inspired you to come and talk with us?
Who is interested in like interviewing with you, like to come in this circle. And I said, well, let me think. And then I said, I can be there too, because I've experienced, been spiritual training and teaching and all that. I've been doing that for like over 24 years. But besides that, I was always a Muslim before that, like maybe as of 15 years ago. So I stopped calling myself with any religion actually. And to just, you know, from one level, you go to the other level of understanding life. And I always had question that like about religion, that you ask question and nobody likes to answer you, or they say, oh, we are taught this way, we don't know, or this is the way it has to be because it's a command, it's a rule of your religion, then you have to go by it. So with my background, I with things happened in my life, so I started digging into it and learning more on the spiritual way of life, and with lots of legend teachers and mediums and all those stuff, that angel therapy and things like that that I went into. So I figured out for myself that to be open-minded and to ask questions, not to be scared, and let's see what happens. Live the life that we are deserving to live, not to be pushed or ordered to live.
Yeah, I think that's very well said, given just, there probably is a lot of fear around leaving Islam. I know that, you know, in some places of the world, particularly Iran, I mean, there could be a lot of consequences for awakening and stepping away from that religion. So how did you each find the courage essentially to do that?
For me, actually, well, practically, I put it away because I couldn't follow it, but it's still, I couldn't announce it publicly because the consequence is death sentence. It's execution. There's no joke, and the Quran actually is literally specifying it. So, but for me, actually, coming to the US, I mean, for the excuse of higher education, really gave me the opportunity because I found that sort of freedom and peace to kind of, kind of even announce it publicly. And after that, well, as I explained in my previous video, I practice also Christianity because I always had like the love of Yeshua or Jesus in my heart. And I used to go to church secretly in Tehran, which was actually very kind of like dangerous. But I really wanted to take advantage of this freedom and practice it as well. And for 5 years, I was a real Christian, I would say. I read Bible diligently. I was so active with all church activities because I really wanted to know this faith, and I kind of like went into the depth of it. But then later on, I found that it doesn't really give me what I was searching for, which was to have a closer relationship to God source creator and to be able to download the messages directly and not this relationship. I didn't want it to be only one-sided. I wanted to be mutual. And that's why that officially I joined mysticism and then spirituality and tried to practice and I went through a lot of healing to kind of take care of my traumas, all my blockages. And finally, I would say the miracle happened to me. And I started getting a lot of downloads, a lot of visitations, seeing angels, seeing beings, either in lucid dream or in meditation, or even, while I was looking, I could see beings in my living room. And, through telepathically, they gave me messages. Most of them introduced themselves. I like, they were very close to me. They're like a family, and I have to remember them. I should try to remember them. And with a lot of love energy that I always, get very emotional whenever I have these such experiences. And since childhood, I really believe that we are able to do that. But religion blocked us, because religion always emphasized on having a middleman, kind of like a mediator, to connect us with God. And that actually, later on, I found that that was a whole agenda to stop us from being sovereign, to be independent and just go directly towards God's source creator. And they wanted to disconnect this connection, this basically linkage from us, in order to enslave us, to control us, and to manipulate us. So when I really managed to do that, I diligently wanted that. I begged God for that to be activated, to receive messages. And that's interesting, because in my last video, I introduced how I was practicing Islam for over 15 years, very diligently, understanding Quran and doing all my prayers and namaz and whatever, even I was supposed to, and even at the extra ones. I really wanted to have a deeper, closer relationship with God. But then I used to say, God, that I had this conflict, that why did you assign Prophet Muhammad as a prophet, but not me? If in the world we have free will, so I wanted to be a prophet as well. How come I am not a prophet and just he is a prophet? So I had this question to my private conversation with my creator, and I didn't have an answer. And then later on, when I got into spirituality, I found that no, we all have this connection, we all have this ability, and we are amazing being with a great body and astral body. We just don't know how to use it, because our owners, the beings that name themselves as our owners, they really hid that information from us in order to control us. So that's really, kind of like, gave me a huge hope. And I really want to share this information to every single human on this planet, because it's such a great and satisfying feeling that I have right now, that I am so powerful. And at the same time, I can love everybody. And we are no different from anybody. And one of my, as I told you before, and as I mentioned in my previous video, one of my wishes that we don't have any religion anymore, because all our efforts is to educate people, to share the information that all the religions have been created by one group of people, by beings who wanted to control us, to enslave us. So they wanted to divide us. So we don't have to be living segregation or division. We are really one. We have to come together. And as you mentioned, if I want to go back to what is going on in the Middle East and Gaza, and basically the meeting, President Trump's meeting with Netanyahu, to my understanding, to what I really know deep down, the peace in the Middle East won't be guaranteed unless we know about the truth about religion. Because I really
Yeah.
still cannot believe that Jewish people, Christian people, Muslim people can live together with 100% peace, while each of these groups they really believe themselves that they have like a kind of priority, and their message or their prophet is prior than the others. Christians, they only believe that Jesus has been the savior, and whoever who is saved by Jesus go to basically heaven and has the salvation, and not the rest of the people. And the Muslim believe that, oh, Prophet Muhammad was basically the termination of the prophecy, and everyone has to accept his message. And literally, when Quran Quran talks about believers, it means Muslims. And when it talks about non-believers, it means that non-Muslims. So basically, each of these groups believe that their own followers are going to heaven, or they have the salvation, not the others. So to me, I really cannot really believe or trust that we can have a 100% permanent peace and still these groups practice whatever they are doing. And I don't want to say we need to force people. No, we need to educate people. We need to reveal the truth. We need to show the truth about the history. We need to talk about the origin in the Middle East, about Anunnakis, about who they were, who were all those beings who landed in Mesopotamia and established that monarchy, and all those shenanigans and also manipulation, and who was truly Jesus, and what is this bloodline that everybody is talking about. We need to really deep dive into these things and to go through the rabbit hole and to show the people, because this is exactly what happened to each of us. We know at birth, I practice even Islam and also Christianity, and I didn't know about it. But then later on, we all found out, and we really felt peace. And then we felt unity with every race on this beautiful planet. So this is really what I am really, excited and passionate about. That's my wish, that to expose the truth about religion. This is not something easy to take it away from people very easily. No, because it's kind of tangled with DNA of the people through for thousands of years. But still, I do believe in the power of knowledge and the power of education. We have to constantly repeating it until that really people start first of all to put down their guards and fear, and to start thinking about it, thinking from a different angle, in order to really understand the truth.
Very well said. Yeah, and I want to say thank you to that as well, because I think there could be a lot of young women that could be watching this and feeling entrapped, feeling stuck in their religion, or feeling like that they don't know how they're going to be able to break free out of those certain religious beliefs and things like this. And because there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear that if they actually, you know, um, turn away from what the Prophet Muhammad is saying, or what their family is pressuring them to do, and actually walk a different path, that there's going to be consequences for that. So, yeah, I think it's very courageous to see you guys step forward and speak on these things, to show that there are other options, there's other paths to walk, there's more freedom, and these new ways of exploring within your own spirituality. So, yeah, I think it's really encouraging. Shohreh, did you want to speak to that question as well?
Yes, well, actually, thank you for this opportunity. This is really good for women of all walks of religion, and also specifically Islam. They have to think more, they have to read and educate themselves more and ask questions, that why do we have to be following one certain rules and regulation because just we are women. We are women, and we are born women, and they are born men. So why do men have advantage over women? Why would a religion reclaim that? And why do we have to accept it as a woman? Not to fight back, to just think and come up with like solution and understanding of it. So I'm going to give you a lot of background of myself, because I wasn't born in a religious family, but they were Muslim, because in a country, especially in Iran, like at that time, even 94 or 5% were Muslim. And we had minority that what they said, like Armenian or Jewish or other faith, but we never had any quarrel or any fighting or any disrespecting. But what my understanding is, as I'm older than you guys, was that always they were feeding us about Jewish people, that they are not accepted, even though we were living, bunch of them living in Iran, And I even didn't know at that time the history that Cyrus the Great entered them, gave him savior and led them free at that time, like 250, 2,500 years ago. I learned that recently, actually. But as I was practicing, because I was always, as a little child, I have to go back to this part, that I was always seeking God and connection with God, even though I was 6 years old, 7 years old. I had a dream when I was 9 years old, because I think I should say this. This relates to what is going on now. Actually, I just recently shared it with my children, this dream. I kept it quiet for most of the time, for most of my years of life. That as I was always asking question, God, where are you? Who are you? Or like, as a little girl, when you go to school, sometimes the three is a crowd, the other girls will go against you, something like that. I never retaliated. I'm not a retaliatory person or revenge, anything like that. So I had in my little being girl, as I was 9 years old, I was a third grader, uh, that I had like sort of like this incident. So I'm just talking to God constantly, and I had a dream. That was very powerful up to now, which has been, I don't know, 50 some years. I still remember it vividly, that like in our yard, like in our backyard, in our house, which was like a big yard, a backyard we had, I saw like a cloud, like an orangish cloud over on top of my head, which was like, let's say 6 7 feet apart of my head. And as I'm looking up as a little girl, I said, I'm hearing a voice that said, they said, whatever question you have, come to us. Like, like sort of God is talking to me. Come to me. Whatever you need, talk to me. Talk to me. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. So that was very profound. And when I woke up, I was crying and all that. And I just told my aunt, and that's it. And then we let it go till many years later, that I had tragedy. And then I started doing researching Quran, because I always was practicing it with my friends as far as praying and all that. But after that tragedy, I started thinking, what do I need to learn? Who am I? Why am I here? Why did this tragedy have to happen to me? So as of that day, I started researching Quran in Farsi, not in Arabic, because I knew how to read it in Arabic perfectly. But I started reading it thoroughly in Farsi. At least I read it, not exaggeration, 200, 300 times, every piece of it. So as I started learning it, and I started taking classes, like spiritual classes, to connect with my loved one, so I come up with, better solution, better understanding of what the religion is. Why do we have to have religion? As a woman, well, I was not forced to do like hijab or anything like that. And I was always like vocal in my thoughts, but it's still, you're reserved because of your religion. So my suggestion to many women, which they're, bound to obey the religion. If you don't do, you're going to go to hell. Where is hell? Where is heaven? How do we know? Who who gave all this information? Who wrote these books? There was no God to write any books. These are all people. Even in the historical uh, part of it, the Torah, the Bible, the Quran, what was written by people, by human beings that collected the information. So we have to go refer that maybe those people, the prophets, they were good people. They were like, I really respect Jesus among all of them, that he was portraying a good example of love and humanitarian stuff and patience and all those good things that we are going to seek.
Thank you guys for sharing that, because I mean, I think it gives us a little background of, the things you have seen that have brought you to where you are, and also to what we're seeing on a collective level. I mean, I think the most recent thing that we haven't had an opportunity to discuss, which I think we need to discuss, and maybe isn't being shared as much on the mainstream, is how we're having people suddenly start to burn the Quran. We had Salwan Monica, who was the Quran burner in Sweden. He was essentially murdered live on a TikTok. Five guys came in and actually, I think the Iranian regime, was it Iran or was it Iraq? No, it was Iraq. Yeah, there was
Iraq. Yeah.
consequences for
He
Iraq.
was Iraqi. He was Assyrian Iraqis, but Iranian regime has a lot to do with whatever is happening there.
Right. So he knew his life was in danger. Essentially, that day did finally come knock on his door, and he was killed for doing that. Now we've seen kind of like an uprising. There was another man in the United Kingdom who also burned the Quran, which you have a little bit of information on him. I'll just do a little screen share, just on Salwan Monica's. Why do you think that this is happening right now? I mean, clearly we know that a lot of the terrorism has arose from the ideology and the belief of Islam, which I personally feel that the ideology is harmful, and that I feel what's happening is that, for one, a lot of people don't understand, or at least Americans don't understand that. I think Muslims, like, their allegiances aren't to nationality. Their allegiances are to essentially the original Mohammedan, like, teachings. Right. And in these teachings, like, it tells them to essentially kill or slay or do all this against the kafirs and the infidels and all of these things. So I feel that a lot of these people are, burning the Quran because they're trying to make a clear statement that they don't agree with this ideology, and that essentially what's coming from the book is creating a lot of problems for the world.
I read about his background actually when we were supposed to talk to you. I guess he was a Assyrian, that his family were killed through Islamic forces, and out of a few thousand of them, only 100 left. So he had a lot of, animosity and grudges because they have been put on him and his, people around him, is like, I don't want to say tribe, but the people, like, they are the same religion or background. So this is very normal, because you can't do that to people because of their religion or of their belief. And that's why I'm opposing all kinds of ideology, all kinds of religion, or even ideology that we see um, through, some countries, the leftist countries. It's they're putting us through ideology of what they believe, and then they push it, and people get tired of it. Now with religion, it has been thousands of years, at least between 5,000 to 1,400 years ago, which Islam was the last one, as they say, they claim. But other religion, there are a bunch of other faith and religion that people. I was just listening to Neil Donald Walsh. I don't know if you have heard about him, that he was claiming that on Google, that 4,200 something religion, faith people have been practicing right now on this planet. So this is too much. Why don't we practice love and caring and fairness and bringing humanitarian stuff that is good for every single person on this planet? So what I'm saying is, we just have to look deeper, dig in more. Why are we killing each other? Why are we hating each other? Because that's not a way to live a life. We are not here to be living miserably because of one certain religion or this belief or that belief.
Just from the notes that Shideh gave me, Um, says just a little message about him. Blasphemers should expect consequences. Sweden's government has spent over a year painting Salwan as a criminal, pushing to deport him and refusing to protect him, even though they knew he was on multiple terrorist hit lists. They vilified him for over a year, prosecuted him under hate speech laws, tried to deport him to Iraq, where he faced execution for blasphemy, refused to protect him despite knowing he was on the terrorist hit list, allowed his assassination in a government-run residence where he was denied protection. refused to even say his name or show a shred of outrage after he was executed, convicted his grieving friend for failing to renounce Mamaka's words. You know, I hear what you're saying about like we need love and like we need this. I'm convinced that the radical ideology hive, the Draco hive of Islam, that there's something holding them trapped. Like it's some sort of mind control program. It's some sort of like deep, deep, deep indoctrination from the point of being an infant, and that they can't escape it because it's literally it's so much of their identity that it would destroy them to let go of it. They don't know how to let go of it, and it's really unfortunate because it's really breeding a lot of darkness on the planet and a lot of war and a lot of killing and a lot of the religious holy war, right? So I think things like this are a cry for help. Like these are people like that are crying out for the world to look at this at a much deeper level. And I think people are trying to right now. It's just that it almost feels like there is no reaching across the aisle when it comes to at least those that are on the deepest level of this following, because it's like the jihad itself is like the sixth pillar of their belief. It's like the sixth pillar
Yeah.
of
We have
Islam.
a surah. We have a surah about jihad that whenever non-believers basically they don't obey and they don't basically comply with the Islamic norms in the Islamic state, and if they basically if they are a threat for the world of Islam, each of Muslims they have the responsibility to fight with them. And I sent you actually a note highlighting a lot of verses from Quran and that it's all encouraging words and fight with non-believers. And as I said, non-believers to Quran means non-Muslims. So basically, the aggressive face of Islam is rooted in Quran. And back to your question that why this Quran burning has started, because honestly, the mere problem is Quran itself. If you want to know about Islam, you need to read Quran because there are a lot of aggressiveness, a lot of threats, a lot of retaliation is depicted in Quran itself. If you look at the basically laws about punishments for adultery, for if women are not obeying their men, and also if for example non-believers are kind of like making troubles for Muslims, for believers, how Muslims are supposed to treat them, and what basically the state of Islam has responsibility and has to retaliate these basically disobedient. This is all about as you say, I have highlighted, it's all about basically taking a revenge, go to fight, or for the thieves. Actually, the last verse that I sent you, the punishment for stealing something is cutting hand. It's literally in Quran, and I have actually put down the reference. You can see it. And by the way, I have downloaded these notes from Quran.com. I didn't go for some activist, some maybe aggressive translation. This is Quran.com. Go and this is a conventional website for all the Muslims to if they want to read Quran, and it's literally showing the true face of Islam and true face of Quran. So when we are talking about terrorists and jihadi, I am not surprised because the root of this belief is aggressiveness, is violence. There is nothing good about it. There are some surah and verses that are talking about heavens, beautiful angels, and if believers to obey that God, basically their reward is going to be the heaven, and God is merciful, God is forgiving. But as I mentioned before, there is a dichotomy in Quran, and whoever who is promoting Quran or promoting Islam as the faith of peace, they just refer that part of Quran that is talking about God's mercy. But the rest of Quran, it's all about threatening, punishment, fight, wars. And we have literally a surah. The name is Jihad, and it's talking about how to fight and how the basically Islamic state has to go to fight, and what's the punishment of non-believers, and so on. So I am not surprised, and I was really expecting this Quran burning to come. It was kind of like prophesied by a lot of mystic leaders as well. And after what happened to Salwan, I see a movement of Quran burning by ex-Muslims. Actually, they just record a video and they start burning it because the root of the problem is the book. And as we discussed last week, last session, unfortunately, so many Muslims are Muslim by default because they are born from a Muslim parents. They don't literally. So many of them don't read Quran, and even if they do, so many of them even don't pay attention to the translation of their mother language. They just read Quran in Arabic as something auspicious, giving them energy, or maybe God listens to their prayers. It's just like a robotic action. Nothing is, spirit is not involved. The soul and the heart is not involved. So that's why they are biased. And yes, there is a huge fear in every single Muslim's heart because all the surahs and verses are kind of threatening Muslims. If you want to drop this belief, what consequences you are going to face? You literally are going to lose the life after your death. And every single Muslim are so afraid of this death because all of them are guilty. Whatever the Islamic and Sharia law and Islamic principles are dictating to them and constantly is telling them, like actually the same thing is happening, what priests are doing, in their preachers in the churches. They're just warning people. And at the bottom line, these people, we the people, ordinary citizens, we are all guilty and we are going to hell and we need to repent. We need to repent. Repent is for us. Repent is not for our corrupted politicians and those industry leaders that they are stealing from us. They're robbing us. They are poisoning us. This repent is not for them. It's not for with the people, ordinary citizens who are paying taxes. And at the bottom line, we are guilty. We go to hell and we need to obey. That's the this aggressive face of the religion. And it's not just about Quran. We have the same things in Christianity, but well, in Islam, honestly, it's next level, I would say.
It is definitely next level. It's nothing like I've ever seen before. I'll be honest with you. It's really opened up my eyes to what actually exists on the planet and to the depth that I think, again, going back to the national thing with the identity, because it's like they don't have any allegiance to any nation. It's their allegiance is to like Muhammad's original teachings. Like that's what the allegiance is. And it's like this quest by any means necessary to accomplish this. They will literally, yeah, like throw their own children, like to blow up their own children, do whatever for this afterlife. They're not living for this life, they're living for the afterlife. Let's listen and watch this video. This is the British Quran burner. Let's just take a look at this one. We'll go through a couple of
So
these
in
videos
Britain
here.
today, you burn a book. So in Britain today, you burn a book and it's handcuffs. You rape a child and you get a slap on the wrist and a 41 quid fine. That's the state of our so-called justice. A 47-year-old man in Manchester was arrested for burning a Quran because the police turned up in large numbers, saying that it caused deep concern in certain communities. Meanwhile, Mohammed Shah raped a child and got a training order. Not prison, not real punishment, a £41 fine and a training order not to rape kids. That's less than the price of a speeding ticket. This isn't justice. This is two-tier policing. The state enforces Islamic blasphemy laws while actual criminals walk free. If the police cared as much about crime as they do about collecting and protecting people's feelings, maybe our streets wouldn't be so damn lawless. We either have free speech and real justice, or we live under mob rule. And right now, it's clear which way we're heading. Enough.
Yeah, so I mean, you could see how that guy was literally arrested by looked like two Muslim men almost. Like they have a two-tier system over there in Europe. I think you left me some notes, Shideh, on the human rights in Britain, just
Yeah.
no bueno. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Now it's a time that the truth is being exposed, and we can see the true hypocrite face of all these governments, especially European governments. So we discussed in last video that even Islam is there's a speculation, and we brought up Leo Zagami's hypothesis that we're under control of Vatican, and Vatican has had involved itself with creating Quran, and maybe even Muhammad was educated by Vatican teachings, and so many religions. And also in a note I mentioned to you, there are a lot of like faith, and I don't want to mention them because they are very, very biased. Even they could be even more dangerous than Muslims. They are created by British, actually British monarchy, whatever that they wanted to, kind of like, some to proceed some agenda, they created a faith. And also there is another faith, as far as I've read, I don't remember the reference right now, Sikh people in India. And I read in a context that it was also made by British Empire, because Hindus and Muslims were in constant war with each other. I don't know the exact intention of British Empire, but they kind of like mixed they took some part of Hindu beliefs, and then they mixed it with Islamic beliefs, and they created Sikh, which is actually they're more active in east of in Gujarat, in east of India. So many of these faiths are really man-made. All of them are man-made, by the way, but also they appear kind of like in recent centuries. They are not that old. And also that was interesting. Recently, we heard from news that the leader of Ismail branch of basically it's a faith, Ismail faith, who just passed away at the age of, I think, 90 something. And he has been living in England for past 30 years. So it's totally showing why England. And by the way, this group, Leo Zagami knows a lot about it. This Ismail group is one of branches of Shia beliefs. We have a lot of branches because in Islam we have Sunni and Shia. Sunni has some other faith as well, different branches too, but Shia has so many sub branches, and it takes a lot of like videos to talk about it and deep dive into it. And based on what Leo Zagami says, and he enlightened me, most of them are connected to secret societies and basically Freemasonry activities, that they changed the name, they adapted and created the Islamic version to be active in the Middle East, and to basically, they were mostly assassins, and to create this chaos, whatever we see right now in the Middle East. But basically, they had to. And this one of these leaders just passed away in United Kingdom, and that's really, tells us a lot of things.
Well, it makes you
So
really wonder, though, what is the true agenda of the deep state? I mean, do they want all of these European nations to be Islamic countries? Because it really does seem like they already are. I mean, they're already like at a massive population dip, and like Britons and like Caucasians and white people and things like this, that it's the majority now is Muslim. So I mean, why would the deep state want this to essentially happen? I mean,
to
it's
me,
just
it's creating chaos. What I see, this is my personal humble opinion, to create chaos, to control the people, to create fear, because Islamic beliefs, and those jihadis, they are the best factor. They are so aggressive, they are so horrific. Actually, that was actually very successful in Islamic countries, that they put all the nations in Islamic world into submission. So they want to do the same thing for the rest of the world, starting from Europe. And this is what I see, because on the other side, we have 2030 agenda, that World New Order as well. And what we see in the World New Order, so it was supposed to be non-religion, it was, everything was supposed to be robotic, and the religion basically didn't have any place in World New Order. So this is my own inner knowing, that maybe they wanted to create this chaos and this fear to put all the people into submission. And the last basically step is going to be announcing the world new order and just take away even the religion forcefully from the people. Why? People, are in constant fear and they have no idea about the sovereignty. This is what I think, but I'm not sure about it.
Well, I mean, they say Islam is the religion of submission. Isn't it the religion of submission? So is this why they want to maybe advance it? So they can have more submission? But,
Exactly.
but there's more radicalism, so it's kind of like, what's the word? Ironic or hypocritical or double standard. Anyways, let's watch this video. It says, the more they threaten, the more they scream, the more they try to oppress freedom, the more the Quran shall burn, and the more ridicule should be sent their way. So this is the woman in Sweden who has been also doing it. This is the one we kind of looked at before we came in, and she's actually casting demons out of the book.
Så bedriver jag ut Satan och demonerna ur den här folken, Sverige, Norden och Europa. Jag driver ut allting. Och det ni hör här nu är demonerna i människor som talar och ropar och raspar. De ropar det på grund av att de har demoner. Och jag driver ut varenda demon ur den här boken. Låt den brinna och den ska förbjudas i Jesu namn. Islam ska förbjudas i Jesu Kristi Nazarens namn. Låt den brinna. Halleluja. Halleluja. Det är djävulens trolldomsbok. Och det står något, ett par svenskar, ni vet vad jag menar. Det var några stycken som var på väg upp till Sverige.
I mean, I have to say, you got to be one brave human being to go out in public and do that, knowing just because it does bring in a lot of violence. Like, it is antagonistic and it does aggravate the community, and there's a lot of backlash for that. And it seems like, people can't speak openly up and out against it. And that's the problem, because there's fear that you're going to get murdered, killed, or, your head cut off. Or so there is not like any freedom of speech with this. And this is the problem. This is why conversations can't like go across the board, and like people can't awaken. It's because it's almost like there's this energetic spiritual protective force field or shield around Islam that doesn't allow like truth to be heard. And I almost feel like I think the religion was just founded on so many lies. Like we've talked about this, Shideh, with this coming from Britain, like this coming from the Jesuits, like you were just saying, like, and if Muslims don't even recognize this or understand that, their whole religion may be like a coup, like this might be something that was like created just to mind control them. I mean, they can never wake up to this truth. It's like there's something that does feel like there's something dark around it that protects it. There's one more video I wanted to show you, ladies. This is one that I found to be really, really interesting. It's called the 100-Year Islamic Plan to Take Over America. And she explains what this is. And let me know if you've ever heard of this before and what you think about this.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brigitte Gabriel. I am holding in my hand the Muslim Brotherhood Plan for North America, written in 5/22/1991. This is their plan, titled مذكرة تفسيرية للهدف الاستراتيجي العام في أمريكا الشمالية. This is about their explanation on how they're going to take over the West, their 100-year plan to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. This plan was presented as evidence in the Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terrorism trial ever in the history of the United States, where our government handed down 108 guilty verdicts to Muslim Americans and Muslim organizations in America, raising money in the United States and sending it overseas to support terrorist activity overseas. And I'm going to read you a paragraph about their intention in the United States and how they describe their work. Number 4 of the paragraph is titled Understanding the Role of the Muslim Brother in North America. And it says, the process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, which is the Arabic word for brothers, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religion. As you can see, they don't mince words. They don't beat around the bush. They tell you exactly what they want to do. They go in detail in this booklet talking about how they are going to implement their plan and the organizations that they had set up in the United States in order for them to advance their plan in America. And here are the names of some of the organizations. They give the names of 29 organizations set up in America to do that. So I'm going to read you some of the names. ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America. If the name sounds familiar, it's because ISNA used to be advisors to President Obama about Middle East policy. So now you understand where signing the nuclear deal with Iran came from and why Obama was all over himself trying to appeal to the Iranian regime, even sending them pallets of cash in the middle of the night on an airplane, landing in an airport in the middle of the night, millions and billions of our tax dollars. Number 2 on the list is the MSA, the Muslim Student Association. The Muslim Student Association has chapters all over American universities. So today when you are watching all these demonstrators on our American universities screaming death to the Jews, we hate the Jews, from the river to the sea, Gaza will be free or Palestine will be free. Now you understand where that is coming from. Number 8 on the list is the North American Islamic Trust. The North American Islamic Trust owns 90% of mosques in the United States. Number 22 on the list is IAP, Islamic Association for Palestine, which later became CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. Now, when you read all this stuff, you think to yourself, how can this happen? Does our government know about this stuff? I have been talking about these things for over 15 years. This is detailed in my book, They Must Be Stopped, which came out in 2008, detailing this plan. When I used to talk about these things, I was accused of being an Islamophobe. People called me a hater. Nobody wanted to listen. When I was warning about the Muslim student associations on college campuses and the money coming from the Middle East funding a social study department, a political science department, and appointing professors who are anti-America and anti-Israel to teach that Israel is evil, America is bad, and the Islamic world is the underdog, and the Palestinians are the oppressed, nobody wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to pay attention. So today when you see all these people organized on the streets in the United States, hating Israel, hating the Jewish people, hating America, tearing down American flags and the pro-Palestinian demonstrations in New York City, now you understand where that is coming from. If you want more details about this plan,
I'll pause her there because it's pretty long, but I mean, that's kind of intense, right?
And to point about this video, this lady Bridget started first with the title Muslim Brotherhood. And in the last video, I mentioned that Muslim Brotherhood is a Freemasonry branch in the Middle East with a headquarters in Cairo, Egypt. So everything is the manipulation of Illuminatis at the bottom line, I would say. Now they are taking advantage of the Islamic branch to basically create this chaos because they are ruling out of crisis and chaos. Now they are talking about jihadis. Who are the jihadis? Jihadis means fighter, means assassins. again, we are talking about those secret societies. Now, they basically changed their name as Muslims. They are doing it Muslim. They are taking advantage of. However, the Quran actually is created by, again, Vatican and Freemason based on documents that Yozagami is offering. So now, we are in actually the bottom of the rabbit hole. Everything is clear. It's all manipulation of dark forces to put us into submission. And the other thing that I would like to mention, because we are all investigators, we want the truth, the mere truth. This thing is very convoluted. We know about Zionists. Jews are not just Jews. We have a lot of manipulation even in Judaism. We are getting intel about Zionists who are not really coming from Moses' bloodline. They are basically, they're Khazarian family. They used to live around Caspian Sea. When I was in high school, I used to actually read about them. They were very savage. In the ancient time, in Sasani dynasty, they used to constantly attack the borders of Iran from the north. They were very, very, brutal. If they conquered a place, they used to boil babies and they, pull out people's skin. They were really non-human. I would say 100%. Who knows? Maybe they are even a reptilian hybrid or something, because they were so violent. And now based on the intels are coming out, we see that these Khazarian family, because they were in competition with a Russian empire, and they wanted to, in the modern era, they wanted to have a kind of like a social class. They decided to name themselves as Jews. By the way, most of them, they had blonde hair and blue eyes. They were very fair skin, and basically, if someone is real Jew, they look like me, like a typical Middle Eastern with dark eyes and dark hair, not with blonde hair and blue eyes. It doesn't really make sense if they are really from a true original Israeli tribe. And these people are actually part of this Khazarian mafia. They are a part of the Rothschild family. We know that Rothschild family are Jews, and they are in leading our industries, our politics and education system, our everything. They are leading. They are our leaders. And at the bottom line, we see they are Jews. And when we look at them, they don't look like Jews really, because if you go to Brooklyn, New York, you will see real Jews. They feature really shows you they are really they're coming from Middle East. But these Rothschild family and the Venetian families, and we know all those bloodline families, and some of them are Jews. They don't look like Middle Eastern, so they are Zionists. And what we know, that Israel is infiltrated by Zionism. There are a lot of things going on. I am quoting from Gene Decode because I know Indigo, you follow him as well. Based on his intel, Israel was the hub for human organ harvesting. Lot of horrific things has been going on in Israel. And also President Trump, in his speech with Netanyahu, he mentioned actually that these people in Gaza were under constant horror, massacre, and they had a very hard life, and now they deserve to experience life. So we want to bring peace and rebuild their city to have a normal life. Because to me, even creating these terrorist groups like Hamas, like Hezbollah, we saw that the United States were funding these groups. And I mentioned in the last video that I saw a video from President Hussein, that he literally said that we funded ISIS because we wanted to create some sort of balance in the Middle East. We needed that. So we funded ISIS. So they created. So there is no surprise at why they made the deal with Iran, and they, send out those dollars in the plane supporting the Islamic regime. And they don't care about Iranian people. They don't care about our prisoners, human rights, whatever is happening to our women, whatever is happening to our young people under horrific tortures in the prisons of Iran. They are supporting them because, as again I mentioned in the last video, there are so many evidence that even the revolution of Iran didn't happen by the people. It was on manipulation. Those agencies and powers from East and West were all involved in basically firing Shah King from Iran. While I wasn't born back then, but the evidence are saying it. And it's interesting that last week I saw a video on X showing that Ayatollah Khomeini, when he went to airport of Paris to come to Iran for the first time, he was surrounded by CIA agents. And that's actually, these intels have just started being exposed, being revealed. So we
Wow.
see, we have, yeah, it's big, it's huge. We haven't got the documents of John F. Kennedy assassinations yet, because it could be the end of the thriller of agency. But this is, it's Islam, but to me, Islam is just an instrument for the dark forces to manipulate people, to create fear, even in Europe, even in North America, everything. And we always, whenever something chaotic is happening, to me, it's a distraction. They want to be, because they are implementing some other agenda, they want to distract people to implement that agenda quietly. And when it's finished and done, then people cannot do anything. That's what we have been deceived for eons.
Yeah.
So we should have learned our lessons,
Yeah.
not to be fooled anymore. This is my take. I don't know if Shohreh wants to add. Definitely, she knows better.
If I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, with my understanding, few years back, religion or politics, there is no true religion to me, because God has always, the creation has always been there, millions of years, and humanity has been around. But what the last 5,000-6,000 years, that as the history shows us, that these religion that we know now has come up, it is, to me, it's my understanding, it certainly is politics, that how you control and you infiltrate people in direction that those politicians want them to go. But the best way is to be punished by a source that is in the box. The religion are in boxes. This box, if you go out of the box, you're going to be going to hell. You're going to be burned to this, and this is a sin, this is this and that. So religion are based on fear, that from the beginning of the child is born, when the parents, and that goes to culture that has been ancestors have been brought us to us, that it's a scare tactic, infiltration of sin, bad and good, and there is a God that gives you, the love you, God loves you. In Quran, in every surah, it starts with, we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, means in the name of God, which is merciful and kind. But that kind God is going to punish you if you don't wear your hijab. It's going to punish you if you don't fast, or if you eat in the public when it's a Ramadan. Or it's going to punish you if you have adultery, but not for men, mostly for women. And women has to obey men because you're inferior. So all these rules and laws is created to me through politician, not through somebody came from, heard it from God and then is going to direct us. We have, to me, we have old souls. We have people that understand, their understanding is above the average of some of people. But every one person of this on this planet, at the time they're on this planet, they have the connection through their own source, whatever you want to name it. You tap into it. That's how do we tap into it? That's another story, which is another subject. Maybe you and I, as an Indigo, we know that. But you have to tap into your power to communicate with your higher source. So this education has been eliminated and not even brought up. And when people start bringing it up, well, I think it has been about 40 years, maybe it has started to be talking about it more. But even 20 years ago, I was called, I'm crazy, I don't know what I'm talking about. But now the shift is occurring, awakening is occurring. And for Islam, that we have to go politics too. Like I know within our country, when in 1979, why the Shah was removed, because he said, we are not going to give you the oil in that price. We're going to control it. Actually, I was reading an article from that time, 45 years ago today, that Shah said, we're not going to give him like that price. We're not going to be under their influence of like America or other countries. So they overthrow him, and they replaced the Shah of Iran, whom he loved Iran and he loved the country, replaced them with bunch of lunatics and bunch of traitors. These are traitors, lunatics that through Islam, they push people, they kill people from the day one. They came in, they executed everybody. Nobody could talk. Even, Shideh was not alive. I don't know how old are you, but they started, nobody could listen to music. They started shutting down all the cinema, theater, everything. So they went from level 10, we went into level 1. They closed the school, they not the regular elementary, they closed the universities to infiltrate their agenda. 3 years. And women had to be separated in the buses, in the universities. You had to separate. The women sat on one side, I think, and men on the other side. Everybody had to have a hijab. So, they put their agenda, and I say, government of Iran is one of the evil government has ever been created through British, through Russia, through all those countries, through even America, all those countries which they put that on this planet to ruin the humanitarian way to live. And they are now in Iranian government, they said it from the beginning, that's to America, that to Jewish people, we're going to import Islam throughout the world. We're going to take over the White House. That's what all they said. So haven't they done that? How? Through the funding of these big governments, the Western governments, maybe the Eastern governments, to these mullahs. So they have really infiltrate all these countries around us, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, even though we had a war with Iraq for 8 years. But now, all of a sudden, after that, they become friends. 1 million of Iranian people were killed and were handicapped through that war, 8 years of war. And all of a sudden, everything vanished. So this is not just religion, this is political religion. And people have to understand and learn and educate and ask questions and go research, and don't fall for any religion that you're going to go to hell or heaven. There is no, well, as far as I'm concerned, there is no hell or heaven. It's who you are, what the experience we're having on this lifetime, how you want to put it out into perspective, and how you behave is, to me, every moment of our life, we are going on the fine line. How do you judge yourself in your behavior? To me, that's the only way humanity can come up with a better solution, as living together with less chaos and killing and all those nonsense that we are dealing with.
Yeah. Well said. You both said things in a way that painted the picture, and I think kind of brought things into whole. I really like how she brought in the history of Iran a little bit as well, like going back, because I remember the last interview that we did today, you were like, well, I wasn't born yet, I was, and then, here she is bringing this like piece in, so it's kind of nice to see everything kind of come together. Um, well, let's maybe talk about the more recent events then, and what is your take on what's currently occurring? Because Trump did just announce that he's going to buy the Gaza Strip and, they want to displace all of the Palestinians to all these other places and nobody wants to take them. And, when I first heard this, I was like, oh, great, a solution. But then the more that I sat with it, kind of got a stomach ache and I was like, feeling all of the collective just grind on this energy and project negative energy and all the reasons why it can't work and and everybody's causing a you know uproar about it and stuff. So um do you think this is something that could actually bring stability over there to the Middle East? Do you think, or do you think that no? And why do you think Trump is doing this? And
Well, to me, it's very controversial. It's something that maybe we haven't heard much. I believe, well, in the World War II, when the American, with the bomb, they destroyed Hiroshima. Uh, and then the government of Japan started to cooperate with America. They sent General McKinley there, no, General MacArthur there to like bring up a solution. So he started having them, the king of the Japan, to write another constitution, the good laws and all that, and they eventually changed and became friend, and they have been friend because, as you know, Japan was a powerful country, especially with their surrounding. They were overtaking many parts of the world, maybe even. But America stepped in. They destroyed each other here and there, and they destroyed a lot of like people in Hiroshima. But they learned to me that as to become friends is a lot better and safer, and also you can establish a lot of prosperity through technology, through many avenues to deal with each other and work with each other, rather politically, socially, in social ways, and economically. Now, with this thing, so that came to my mind, and there are a few aspects I am thinking of. First of all, this Gaza Strip has been energetically, to me, has been very, very down and in a dark side, because what they have created in the last many years, not now, when Yasser Arafat was there, he was all about, he was a communist, he had always had gun, like big rifles, I don't know what the names are, maybe Jesse or whatever you call it. So he was always promoting for war and chaos at that time. That was in 1970s, 60s, and 70s. But I think what Trump is saying, if they start making it and then they allow those people to come back to their land, to come back to their properties, if they have to, there are so many works needs to be done. But as far as that, identify the people who owns things so they can come back in a good environment, in a good energy, and start living to their land, I think that's a good idea. But I don't know what is the true agenda on that. I don't know. I cannot completely comment on that. But to me, if it's done right in a good deed, maybe it bring them a lot of good prosperity, good feeling, and good future.
I hope so too. I really feel that the time for peace has arrived. And actually, you sent me a video of Netanyahu talking very positively. Actually, he also congratulates Iranian at a time of Persian New Year. We have a different calendar, and he talks about that Iranians always, love Jews, and there's no, there's like a separation between regime of Iran and Iranian people. They are great supporter for even Americans. They love America and the culture and whatever is going on, and also Israeli people. Because before the revolution, again, I wasn't born there. I heard from my parents that most of Iranians actually used to go to Israel for medical treatment because they have very, very, special doctor, and they are very genius and very knowledgeable. We have no, we the people really, everywhere, even in China, look at Chinese people all of us have the same basic needs. We want an ordinary life for living. We want to really be in peace. These are the governments who are manipulating us. They are giving us title. Oh no, you are a Jew, you are Muslim, you are Chinese, you are European. And okay, so we don't accept you. We don't accept Pakistani. We are not on the same page with Saudi Arabia. We are not on the same page. This is what the governments are really promoting. And we, the people, need to wake up. We need to understand these governments are not representing us anymore. They are not really showing the exact feeling of ourselves. We have no problem with Jews, with Christians. They're all brothers and sisters. And even in some tribes who are forbidding marriages between these tribes. Come on, that's crazy. We are bottom line. We are all human. Please drop this bias. We are the same. And this endless wars that we explained, all of them rooted in dark forces to proceed some agendas, they have to be terminated. That we need to stop it. And I really feel my heart is telling me President Trump has taken the steps to make it happen for the first time in human history. He has actually supported Iranians very much. He has also, in several speeches, he has praised Iranians, that Iranians are very intelligent, they are very well educated, and they actually, as an immigrant in Iran, they're one of the most successful immigrants in the United States. And they really deserve have a better life. They deserve to flourish their economy. Just a corrupted regime has suppressed them, has manipulated them, and is not representing Iranian people very well. And so far, unlike the Hussein president, what I call him, because he was truly a Muslim, I believe, and there's so many evidence for that, hidden Muslim. But he actually we had a green movement, and back then in 2009 I was in Iran, and literally I saw he really complied with the regime, helped the regime to fail this movement, that Iranians really, the whole atmosphere was really changed. We had a new hope. We think that tomorrow the freedom is closed. We are going to change. The economy is going to be open. We are going to have a normal life. And then all of a sudden the deal happened. I'm sure because the deal happened a few years after, but at that time, I'm pretty sure they had some negotiations, some promises were exchanged that suppressed that movement. And basically people of Iran, the protesters, were silenced, they were tortured, they were captured, and gosh, horrific things happened to us. And basically that hope was dismantled and was taken away from the traitors abroad. But what I've seen in President Trump, everyone is on the same page. He's a different person. He is really following a different agenda. He bravely comes to economic forum and tells that climate change is just a fakery. We don't comply with it anymore. And you robbed the United States. You stole our tax dollars. You betrayed our people. I see that for the first time. We have a true representing of people in the human history, maybe, because we never had it before in past thousands of years. And he wants to make a change. I'm really hopeful. Maybe it's very conspiracy theory, but I'm not sure if this Netanyahu is a really real one. So many things going on again with the Putin as well. But whatever they are, whoever they are, I really hope that for the first time they really do something for the people, put an end. And you know what? I just don't want to waste even my time here and come here and to say that the religion is this and fake. We have so much work to do. Look at this planet. It's destroyed. It's ruined. And instead of, use our mental energy for creation, for invention, for discovery, come on, for space discovery, there are a lot of things to go on, to come up with new invention, to develop technologies, to write, to create arts, beautiful music, beautiful paintings, to celebrate, to be happy. We have to just be on constant horror, constant fear, and a lot of deception, and just, take our mental energy to see what is right, what is wrong, what is right, and what's the consequences. I just really hope that this fake world to be demolished as soon as possible. This is the wish I have.
Well, I'm so happy that you guys both have actually kind of like a positive outlook on, I guess I don't know if it's going to happen or if this is just a suggestion or if they're playing the game to, see what other type of political opportunities will come by throwing this out there type of thing. But it's nice to hear that I wasn't the only one that thought like, oh, well, that's actually a solution to the problem and this can actually help and be a good thing and a positive thing, because that was my immediate reaction to it as well.
Oh,
Um,
that's great. I'm glad
Shide,
to hear that.
yeah, I was like, oh, that's great. Like this would be amazing. And it would give the United States a little bit of a presence in the Middle East as well, which I think could be a really, really awesome thing.
Yeah,
Would you,
actually, I want to mention that in his first administration, he actually worked on Abraham Accord, and they already did that. And I'm pretty sure behind the scene, they have a lot of advancements. Maybe we are not aware of. They have set up a lot of things. What I hear through the intels of, I don't know, maybe still someone like Gene Decode who are bringing intel. And then again, all of us have to, there are a lot of misinformation, disinformation as well, but we all need to discern for ourselves. But I really feel that during past 8 years, a lot of things have happened behind this. A lot of negotiations are done, and we practically saw the eradication of Hamas and Hezbollah and Hashd al-Shabi in basically Iraq, and a lot of like terrorist groups, ISIS. Actually, it was just recently he sent some jets to bomb ISIS. I think it was in Sudan or Somalia in Africa. President Trump did that. That was a few days ago. And they are basically taking care of all these radical groups to prepare the required ground for the peace. And I'm really, quite
yeah.
positive, and not just positive as a hopium. I see the evidence, and I think that we can start for a celebration.
Shohreh, were you about to add something to that? I felt like you were going to chime in there.
Well, I think President Trump is, with his new administration and the way, because I listened to him the last 8 years, very in detail, Congress and all that. I've been very involved in like understanding and listening and learning what they're doing. It is in the right path. I think he really has agenda to bring up the humanity in a peaceful way, but it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of efforts, a lot of work to destruct the old and bring in the new. Because people, the problem with us as a people, we don't want to get out of our comfort zone, or many people cannot foresee the future, or they're, I would say, they are very poor in creating or rewriting their future in a better way. But if we have a visionary of good leaders, which I think there are so many of these secretaries that he has been in his administration, and many other people that I have looked into, they're doing tirelessly work to bring in the changes. And I think within the next 2-3 years, we'll see a lot of ground to be, road soften up to go through for the next, even the generation coming up. So it's not going to be done in a short manner. And even in America, the freedom, the democracy, the true democracy will be coming back. But in the countries like third world, like Islamic countries, even in Europe, things has to be changing quite radically. So I think the world will follow him, because there is no other choices. We have to go to the new way of life.
I absolutely agree. There was a video I wanted to show of Trump that I had on my X that I think I sent, but this was him. Well, he was making a very clear statement. He was saying, he was speaking about the hostages. So I I think you're right. Both of you are absolutely correct in what you're saying about like he's like being a leader. I feel like he's teaching the other leaders how to be leaders. I feel like that's what
Exactly.
we're watching happen, and that's
Exactly.
actually really awesome. but I think he's also playing the emperor card. He's playing like the daddy card, like laying down the law. This is one of the videos where um he was doing that, and I think this is interesting. So I wonder what you guys think about this. I'll just share this video. This has talking about the hostages.
I watched the hostages come back today, and they look like Holocaust survivors. They were in horrible condition. They were emaciated. It looked like many years ago, the Holocaust survivors. And I don't know how much longer we can take that. When I watch that, I know we have a deal where we're supposed to they dribble in and keep dribbling in, but they are in really bad shape. They have been treated brutally, horribly. Even the ones that came out earlier, they were in a little bit better shape, but mentally they were treated so badly. Who could take that? At some point, we're going to lose our patience. When I see that scene that I saw today with people coming out of helicopters and airplanes that are emaciated, that look like they haven't had a meal in a month, no reason for that. And I don't know how much longer we can take it.
Do you mean you want to recast?
I don't know how long we can take it. When I watch people that were healthy people a reasonably short number of years ago, and you look at them today, they look like they've aged 25 years. They literally look like the old pictures of Holocaust survivors. The same thing. I mean, the same thing. And I don't know how long we're going to take that.
Yeah. I felt like that's him being like fixing everything, right? Like he's gonna have to be strong and like really speak to the problems and let people know he's not playing, he's not bluffing. Like I felt really good seeing that because honestly, when I was looking at the hostages come out of that situation, I cried a little bit. I did because I just was like I could almost feel how much suffering that they had gone through, and it just felt like gosh, someone to really speak up to that and just like it's interesting because he's doing that to yeah, to show that strength, like towards the opposition and all these things. Of course, we don't want any like war to break out, but it's almost like these things have to be said and they have to be like dealt with in a strong way. And we need a strong, brave leader to be doing that in these type of situations. I really hope that they can figure out that whole hostage situation because I think Hamas just said that they're not going to go through with it anymore because Israel broke the deal or whatever. So we're kind of back, I guess, to the drawing board with that whole situation, but I hope that they can really figure it out because, man, I think those hostages they need to be, returned back to their families. It's just horrible to think that they're being starved down in tunnels. I really don't know, like, where they're keeping them or something like this in jail cells or whatever, but that's what we have. Trump, I mean, he's there. I think he's being brave to speak to those other leaders to let them know, like, what's important. And I think he's speaking to morality. I mean, he's speaking to
Yeah.
basic human rights and concepts. So if that doesn't hit them somewhere inside and, pushes them to do the right thing, I hope that it does. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Yeah, but also we know that in recent years, what the public doesn't know yet, there is a military operation going on behind the scene, and it's operation in different levels. That even in some of the levels, I don't know how when they are going to reveal it, what's been going on in underground military bases. We know that there are a lot of tunnels and even some ancient tunnels in Israel as well. And to me, it's not just political negotiations, a political show. President Trump is being backed by a very, very potent army, probably the whole army of the planet. plus some even off-world army. And that's why that he can speak with such a confidence and, you know, a true masculine energy, divine masculine energy. We see that he does what he says, and he keeps his words, and he just does it because there is a whole. And I actually, in my work in my office, one of my colleagues who is also a Trump supporter, but he was so kind of in doubt that how he is going to take care of the cartel in Mexico and those drug dealers. And he said, oh my God, some of those drug dealers, they have even more powerful armies than the US Army. And I said, you know what? President Trump is being backed by the whole galaxy. And when I say it, I really mean it.
Wow,
So,
yeah.
uh,
I feel
so what
that.
we know that there are a lot of things that people public they don't know what's really going on. Even about the Middle East, I think that this is more for public awareness. A lot of things has been done in the Middle East, even about the Islamic Republic of Iran, that if I mention it right now, everybody is going to call me I am crazy. But literally, I see it because I dare to say that there is a shadow government in Iran right now. There is a portion of positive politicians. I don't know exactly who, you know, which parliament member, which ministries, which portion of the IRGC in Iran. They want the change. They are true patriots. They want freedom. They want a normal life for themselves and also for the people. They want the country to flourish. So that's why they are really helping this change to happen. And this is a multi-layer operation, and it cannot be explained in just simple words because it's very, very deep. But even in the Middle East, I think what President Trump is saying that is just he is just trying to make the ground for the public awareness to kind of show, you know, the operation on the surface, that how this piece is going to be implemented. And to me, maybe whatever we see on the news is not exactly that has been done practically. This is my own knowing and, you know, my own humble opinion. But it's just for the public basically awareness and for the sake of great awakening, to kind of justify whatever has been done behind the scene, that how we got to the result, basically. This is, I think, what's happening right now. But, you know, it's I really want to mention that this swamp that President Trump mentioned it for the first time is so deep, is way deeper than even what we imagine. And there are a lot of layers into it. And I don't know when everything is going to be exposed to the public. I don't know if the, you know, current population can really are able to take it. Such layers of corruption and horror and gosh, even, you know, when I was studying them, I literally, you know, felt really nauseous for some of it. And but anyway, in order to evolve, I think we need to know some layers of what's been really happening, especially to humans, to little ones. And, you know, to really embrace this new world, we cannot do that without it.
It's time for all the truth to come to the surface and come to the light. We're calling on it
I,
right now.
I can't
Well,
wait for it.
well, I just want to thank you, lovely ladies, for coming on the show today and diving into these topics with me. I know that these are, I mean, they can be difficult subjects to speak on. Honestly, I mean, we're pushing through so many layers and barriers to just even express ourselves and open our throat chakras and, say what it is we think and what we feel and say it without shame, say it without fear, say it without, all the things that we can combat energetically, when we're speaking our truth. And so thank you for just coming on and being so courageous. Do you have any last words you would like to, or messages that you want to deliver to everyone watching?
Well, I want to just say that in that video that the hostages got out as I was watching, it's very horrible feeling to look at them. Not even physically that they have been tortured and um, tortured from food or all kinds of physical torture, but they have been mentally crushed. So what I think President Trump was referring, that was how I felt. And in this video, I watched it yesterday too. It's very powerful that he's exercising all the power he has to make a change. And the last I don't know, it has been about 50 years that the Islamic terrorist has always done hostage crisis in all kinds, whether in airplane, Pan American airplane, or all kinds of way. If we go back to, I can't even remember, but the number of ways, always hostage, because they have nothing to offer. They cannot communicate, they cannot have discussion, and they're going through a rigid way of religion that it's not submission to me. Submission is when you're humble, but this is not humbleness. This is terrorism. That is not humbleness. So we really have to rethink and revise, for especially if we're talking to the, really we have to look into, we have to be open-minded. That's my bottom last word. We got to be open-minded. Don't close off yourself of any topics at any time. We may disagree, but we can have discussion. This is one of the things that, especially with our culture, with the Middle Eastern culture that I know, we are very limited in talking and having a discussion in a democratic way.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's very true. I think maybe that comes from our fear, because when we are fear, we want to cover that void and fear, and then we get aggressive. We really need to learn, communicate with peace and confidence, just to show the true face of ourselves. But actually, that's very interesting, Shohreh, that you brought up this subject, because that's exactly what I was talking to my colleague today, and she actually said that about Iranian's problem and usually Middle Eastern problem. But to me, it's rooted in our history, because in the history, this region has been invaded several times, and each time different tribes who have invaded this region, they put the people under submission and ask people to act differently, to have a different faith, different belief. For example, 1400 years ago, Islam attacked Iran, and Iranian used to be Zoroastrians, but forcefully they had to believe Islam. And then after that, for a while, they were Sunni. But then, that King Ismail came up and wanted to change, Sunni to Shia, and brought Shia faith. And then again, he tortured and assaulted and threatened Iranians to convert from Sunni belief to Shia belief, to make it, they had some crazy agenda behind the scene. But these people have been under constant horror, fear, and this fear is in their DNA. They have inherited from the ancestors. That's what you are doing, Indigo, with healing, to removing these seals, these basically fear from their chakras and their auric field and their energetic system, that they can really feel comfortable, feel peace, to open their heart in order to be able to communicate each other without being, two-faced people. To show them the true face, the true version of themselves. So a lot of work has to be done. That's what I'm saying. First, really, we need to get rid of our financial suffering and the war. We have to get peace, that, okay, we don't have to be worried about war anymore. And then this financial suffering is really huge. Those demonics, they knew what they were doing. And even right now, not only in the US that we are all, dealing with hardship, but this hardship is not compared with even what Iranian people inside Iran and so many other countries are dealing with. And recently I heard that, again, the currency of Iran has been depreciated again, and everything they have like double or triple inflation again, and everything is just so insane, and so a lot of pressure. And basically people are locked up, mentally they cannot think anymore. They are so aggressive. They are like zombies, literally. So this pressure, this financial problem, it has to be released from the people, whether debt forgiveness, some, contribution of wealth, to, people to have some normal life first. And then people, to come to this awareness that they need to go through healing, start healing themselves, to get rid of these seals and all these negative frequencies and technologies that has been going on throughout eons.
I think
A
you're
lot of work.
absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of generational healing, curses, black magic, spells. There's so much that has to be stripped. I think through the Arabic generations and bloodlines of the Middle East. And yeah, a lot of healing. Because I think honestly, how I talk about the Black Heart regime and the Black Heart virus, it's really, yeah, their hearts just being so closed and shut off for so long, so many generations of this corruption that there's a deep, it's really, like I said, really, it's a cry for help, um, whenever these spells get lifted, whenever the light starts to come through and the crack starts to allow energy to flow through these bloodlines. Like, I really hope that we can find the will to just forgive and honestly cleanse and restore and generationally heal these roots because, yeah, it's all a part of our universal tree of life at the end of the day. This is why I'm doing this show, these shows. This is why I'm so invested on so many levels because I feel the connections. I know I have past lives in the Middle East. I know that I'm somehow rooted to those lands. Like, it's the one place in the world I've visited the most, and have taken these really courageous trips that are just like, 6 weeks in Egypt by
You're really
myself. Like, who
brave.
does that? Who does that? I mean, so it's like a
Really?
lot of transformation in my life that, has happened there. So I just know that, you know, love is not division and we don't look at each other that way. Actually, I have the perfect video to actually um end this on. So let me just
I just have one word to say for what you were brought up, bringing it up. Just people have to really meditate, think, clear their own mind, because there are so many ways that in YouTube, books, everything they can learn on their own. You don't have to have any specific even teacher, but there are so many teachers out there. And also just tap into the universal wisdom and the law of attraction. Whatever you think, that's whatever you get. So this is, I think, it's really important to understand for our future.
okay, I found the video. Okay, so this is
Nice.
our ending video. I think it's a nice message. Um, that's kind of trying to like neutralize those differences. So let me just share this with you.
I despise you, and I'm sure you despise me.
He said that I despise him, right? This is the difference between Christianity and Islam. No, listen. It is true. I genuinely love this man. Why do I love this man? Is it because he's a Muslim? No. Islam stinks. As an ideology, it's sickening. However, this man, regardless of his religion, is made in the same image of God that I am made and all of you are made. And it is that image that I love. I cannot hate the image of God, and the image of God resides in everybody, regardless of their ethnicity, their religion, their sexuality. They should all be loved. But not every ideology should be loved. Nazism should not be loved, and Islam should not be loved, because these are horrendous ideologies. So I separate your ideology from you. I love you, I don't despise you. You despise me because Islam teaches you to despise me. And that's the difference between our religions.
Right? Good message. Like that's why, because everyone's the image of God, and so, it's the ideologies we despise, not the people. So yeah.
Exactly. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nico.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment and let us know what you think about this discussion, and peace. Peace, YouTube.